piece of crap. Oh. I gotta hide from them. They're everywhere. But out here, I can't get away from them. They're everywhere. I can't. Oh, yeah. All right, I can find somewhere to protect myself. Oh, perfect. Now I just need something to go with it. Make it a little bit more effective. Just what I need. Hey, what's up? It's me, Mr. Watching Game, and welcome to my Dead Rising 3 review. Now, back in the 90s, the first Resident Evil came out and basically popularized the survival horror genre for consoles. I mean, it was a very new concept to a lot of console gamers, despite the fact that other survival horror games such as System Shock, Alone in the Dark, and other such games had appeared on PC beforehand. So it must have also shocked a lot of players that a third-party launch title for the Xbox 360 was the first Dead Rising game, ironically by Capcom, the same company. What basically went from a situation where one zombie was literally able to kill you by itself, and you normally wouldn't come up against more than 3 or 4 at once, became a situation in which you literally could just pick up anything in the environment and beat the hundreds of zombies you'd come across to death with it. Now, the first Dead Rising I didn't get a chance to play until this year, but I really did like it. I liked it a lot, actually. But I, however, did not get my start with the Dead Rising series until Dead Rising 3 for the Xbox One. Now, this game was a little bit of a new experience for me because up until this, I practically hadn't played any zombie games. I think the only one I might have played prior to this one is Dying Light. So, you know... long story short, I'm pretty sure this game really did, like, basically push me into my love for the zombie genre of games. So, with the announcement of Dead Rising 4, I figured why not go back to Dead Rising 3, take a look at it, and see what they can possibly do better. So, let's strap on our mechanics boots, head into Los Perdidos, and, you know, fight off against a million undead with nothing but a hammer and a saw strapped together. This is my review of Dead Rising 3 for the Xbox One. As mentioned before, Capcom is responsible for the creation of Resident Evil and Dead Rising, both of these game series earning them critical and financial success. I've actually heard several people claim they bought an Xbox 360 specifically for the first Dead Rising. Now, I didn't get the chance to play the first Dead Rising until very recently, and I thought it was a very fun third-person action zombie game, and probably one of my favorite 360 exclusives. I've never played Dead Rising 2, but I've heard very mixed things about it. Personally, I think the game looks fun, but the main protagonist doesn't seem nearly as likable as Frank West, and the story does seem really ridiculous if I'm being completely honest. Dead Rising 3, on the other hand, is a great game nonetheless. I love the crap out of Dead Rising 3. This game is enjoyable, bloody, violent, fun, creative, and action-packed. Any minor complaint I have with the game is usually immediately taken away due to how much sheer fun the game is to play. But hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself again. Let's start from the beginning and talk about the story. The protagonist of the game is a man named Nick Ramos. He's a former mechanic in the town of Los Perdidos in what I assume is California, and due to some pretty bad luck, he ends up getting stuck in the quarantine along with a small group of survivors after the outbreak. Now, he and a group of survivors have to find a way out of the town before the government clears up the evidence of the outbreak in 1 week's time by blowing the town up. To be honest, I really couldn't get into the story, and I did find Nick a likable protagonist despite not having the level of charm as someone like Frank West.
The rest of the characters I either found really unlikable or stupid or really just plain generic. I mean, it's not really the most creative game in the world when it comes to characters, with the exception of the psychopaths, which I'll get to later. In fact, let me just bring them up now. These are people who have gone insane due to the zombie outbreak and have frequently inhabited places across the city due to a specific thing they're obsessed with. For example, the doctor inhabits a specific building which houses organs and a meat freezer which he will use to freeze the organs of his victims. They have been a staple in the Dead Rising series, but they're honestly the only unique characters I can think of in Dead Rising 3 besides Nick himself. But anyway, getting back to uncreative characters, the survivors are a pretty good example of this, and I'm just gonna say it, I hate almost every single survivor in this game. They all just seem too lazy, scared, or stupid to do something simple, and I really could not get into any single one of them. Really, like any single problem that they have, any single random survivor in the street just becomes tedious looking after them is what I'm trying to say. I normally just try to help them as quickly as possible to get back to actually killing zombies in the way that I prefer to instead of trying to save them. Getting into the graphics for a second, I think they're pretty good for an early Xbox One title. I think what the game does really well, though, is its ability to have so many zombies on screen and keep the frame rate going pretty well. I'd be more happy to have more zombies to kill over graphics quality anyway. The music gets the job done, but I can't really remember any tunes. That leaves us with the gameplay, which is easily one of my favorite things about this game. The formula from Dead Rising is brought from the environment of a mall into the whole town of Los Perdidos. Nearly everything you see in the game world can be picked up and used as a makeshift weapon. You can also pick up food items to replenish your health. You can clear safe houses, drive cars, collect statues of Frank West, destroy speakers spouting random propaganda crap, change into ridiculous clothes such as a giant suit of knight's armor, and collect blueprints for combo weapons and vehicles. Holy moly, there is a lot to do in this town. On that note, I'll touch on the combo and weapons and vehicles, which really make Dead Rising 3 the game it is. If you have the correct blueprint along with the correct category or type of weapon, you can combine weapons and vehicles into more powerful zombie-slaying machines. You can put two beating weapons together to form a huge swinging death tool, and you can put an axe and a parking meter together to form a huge battle axe, because why the heck not? And you can put together a car battery and a traffic light to make a giant electric staff. Okay, so the roster of combo weapons is pretty ridiculous, but I really do love them regardless. Another thing I love about them is that you can craft them on the go. No workbenches are required. Weapons do break and fall apart really fast, but there's more than enough of them to keep you supplied throughout your journey to slaughter the undead and escape Los Perdidos. Once you clear a safe house, you can gather any weapon or item of clothing from cabinets, as well as save your game using toilets. These are scattered throughout the world and are nice, but you can also just save the game at any time. I've heard the higher difficulties redact this feature, but I can't confirm that since I haven't played on them yet. Your sense of exploration can be rewarded with combo blueprints or other goodies scattered throughout the town. Once you acquire enough prestige points, or PP, and yes, feel free to make as many body fluid jokes in the comments section as you want to, you can level up Nick and use attribute points to upgrade your abilities. The time management is a pretty big part of this game due to the fact that you actually have a time limit throughout the whole of the game. Once the time runs out, the mission is over. You can't reload a save point as far as I could tell, so it's a permanent consequence of your actions unless you restart the whole game. Objectively, the only few other complaints I might have with the game are the loading times and the outfits. Now, what I mean by that is that if you die, it's about a 45-second wait before you can start again, and I really just feel like the outfits make the whole game feel really, really ridiculous. Like, just watching Nick going around in armor and talk to people is really, really weird to me. Look, I think you get that I love this game a whole lot. I love the combos, I love the weapons, I love every single part about this game's beat-em-up system. It's easily my favorite game in the Dead Rising series, and possibly my favorite zombie game of all time as well, but don't quote me on that, as I cannot think of a better one right now. If you're not burned out from zombies, I'd recommend you give this game a try. I have absolutely no idea how the PC port is, but if you happen to have an Xbox One, this game is an easy recommendation.
This has been Mr. Watching Game. The dead will be rising again in December, and I hope to see all of you ladies and gentlemen in the next video. Bye-bye! Now if you'll excuse me, I got some work to take care of. Let's do this.